Welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling one of the most important and most misunderstood questions in Christianity. Did Jesus ever actually claim to be God? Some people say he never said those words directly, but scripture tells a much deeper story. When you look at his words, his actions, and the reaction of the people around him, you discover that Jesus reveals his divinity in ways far stronger than a simple sentence. And the Catholic Church has always taught this clearly, from scripture to the catechism to the foundations of Christian dogma. Settle in, take a breath, and let's walk through the truth together. We begin with Jesus' own words. In the Gospel of John, he says, "I and the Father are one." This is John chapter 10, verse 30. And instantly the people pick up stones to kill him. They tell him plainly that he, a man, is making himself God. Their reaction is powerful. They understood that Jesus was claiming unity of nature with the Father, not merely unity of purpose. This is exactly why the Church teaches that the Son is consubstantial with the Father, which is one of the core dogmas of the Council of Nicaea. Then we come to one of the most staggering statements Jesus ever made. In John chapter 8, verse 58, he says, "Before Abraham was, I am." That phrase, "I am," is the divine name revealed in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. Only God can use that name. And once again, the crowd takes up stones. They knew exactly what he meant. Jesus was claiming eternal existence and the identity of God himself. The Catechism reinforces this truth when it says the name I am belongs to God alone and is revealed in the Son who shares the divine glory. This is taught in the Catechism in paragraph 206 and again in paragraphs 430 to 435 on the divinity of Christ. The Gospel of John goes even further by explaining what the people heard in Jesus' words. In John chapter 5, verse 18, it says that Jesus, calling God his own Father, was understood as making himself equal with God. Not symbolically, not figuratively, equal. This confirms why the Church teaches the dogma of the Incarnation, that Jesus Christ is true God and true man, one divine person with two natures. This is taught in the dogmatic teaching of the Council of Chalcedon. Then there is the moment with Thomas after the resurrection. Thomas sees Jesus and declares, "My Lord and my God." That's John chapter 20, verse 28. Jesus accepts this profession of faith. He blesses it. He does not correct Thomas or redirect the worship. In Jewish faith, accepting divine worship is blasphemy unless you actually are God, but Jesus receives it calmly and confidently. The Catechism affirms this in paragraph 444, which teaches that Thomas's confession is a direct witness to Jesus' divine identity. Jesus' actions reveal his divinity just as clearly as his words. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 2, Jesus forgives a man's sins directly. The religious leaders respond by saying, "Who can forgive sins but God alone?" They are right. Forgiving sins by one's own authority belongs to God. Jesus does it by his own will. The Catechism teaches that Jesus exercises divine power when he forgives sins because he is the eternal Son of God. This appears in paragraph 430 to 431. Jesus also claims the role of judging all humanity. In Matthew chapter 25, he describes the final judgment with himself as the one seated on the throne. In the Old Testament, the judge of the nations is always God. Yet Jesus says the Son of Man will come in glory and sit upon his glorious throne. The Church teaches that Christ is Lord and Judge of the living and the dead, a truth rooted in the Apostles' Creed and affirmed in the Catechism, paragraph 450. And again throughout the Gospels, Jesus receives worship from the Magi in Matthew chapter 2, from his disciples in Matthew chapter 28, and throughout his ministry. Prophets refuse worship, angels refuse worship, Jesus receives it freely. The early church fathers recognized this as one of the clearest signs of his divinity. This leads us to the heart of Catholic teaching. Jesus did not reveal himself with modern sentences. He revealed himself with divine authority, divine identity, and divine power. The Catechism states that Jesus is the eternally begotten Son of God, consubstantial with the Father, true God from true God. You find this truth in paragraphs 430 to 446. This is not an invention of later centuries. It is the direct faith of the apostles, rooted in scripture and confirmed by the early councils of the church. The fundamental dogma is simple and unchanging. Jesus Christ is God made flesh, the second person of the Trinity, fully divine and fully human. Every verse we explored points to this same truth. Outrow music begins to rise. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into scripture and Catholic teaching. If you found this helpful, give the video a like, subscribe, and share it with someone searching for answers. And tell me in the comments which of Jesus' statements speaks most strongly to you about his divinity.